Welcome back, everybody. Got another one for you today. Another amazing person, great breeder, doing amazing things for the hobby. I really wanted to get my buddy Mauricio here some more exposure. Without any further ado, this is Mauricio from Gecko Monster. Can you introduce yourself? Just give the guests, the viewers, maybe a quick back history on your business, maybe a little bit how you got into this.
Yeah, like everybody know, my name is Mauricio from Gecko Monster. I started around 8 years ago, where me and my brother just went to the pet store, and started seeing all these things. Right there, I was caught by a leaf-tailed gecko, which that's how it started. I found it so interesting the way they look, the tail, how they camouflage. Right away, it caught my eye. So I got my first pet right there. I remember at that time, my budget was super tight. So I remember I spent that day like $600, and which for me at that moment, it was huge. But I was like, you know what? I love this guy. I got to take it with me. So then I started working with them. I got another one. By a couple of months, I had like 6.
Damn, that was fast.
Yeah. Then I start finding out more about reptiles. My brother started working at Underground's reptiles.
Oh shit, really?
So he started working there. Then I was more into it, and I went to a show where I saw Tiki Gecko for the first time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, David, I just interviewed him Wednesday. I had him on the podcast. He's a super cool dude. He don't realize how many people he brings to this hobby. I've been keeping reptiles for 40 years.
I think that's what it makes this so big, and what it makes this, so strong, and the reason why we're getting bigger and bigger.
Absolutely.
A lot for my experience. I've been in both ends of the hobby, which it's hard to acquire something really high end because prices are super expensive when you want to get to those ends. So I've been in both. So my way of doing things is, try to give people the chance to get there easier than, hit somebody that, have crazy geckos and crazy prices, because a lot of people that have the crazy geckos, they're amazing, amazing breeders, amazing people. But what is that the price has a reason why. Because you put a lot of times into it, you grow the parents, you work with them for years, because for a female to be ready, you need at least 2 years, make sure she's ready, that includes sometimes visits to the vet, at least for me, I try to make sure all the females are ready to go. Not because, they hit certain way. No, I try to, go a little beyond that, because I had a really bad experience with one of my females. And I don't want that to happen again.
What happened, if you don't mind?
No. Yes, he got egg-bound. Yeah. I couldn't catch it on time. So as soon as I saw it wasn't moving too much, I took it to the vet. The vet couldn't do much, and he passed. And that was my first big hit right there, because on that female, if I'm not mistaken, I spent like $3,000. So
that's a hard hit.
To lose that female, it hit me really hard. Not because of the money, it was because you had a big project, you got something planned for it, your hopes are getting better, you're happy, you're enjoying it, and out of the sudden, boom, half of the project is done.
Yeah, man, that's a rough one. A lot of people, I give you credit again, a lot of people would have quit. A lot of people would have said, that's it. I'm done.
And you think about things like that, why should I keep going if this is going to happen again? But the thing is that we always got to remember that we're working with live animals. Live animals is just like a person. They can get sick, something can happen. And if you decided to go that route, then you got to understand that something like this could happen. Just like when we have a pain on your tooth, you got to go to the dentist. And you don't plan on it. It's something that just happened.
Absolutely.
So I believe that has a lot to do with the prices behind what people ask for different geckos. On my end, again, I try to, give the chances, to have certain things that may other people.
That's awesome of you too. Making it easier. You make it more easier for people to get into some nicer lines than you had it, right? Like it's that's a nice thing to do. I said you're making it more accessible for people to get nicer animals, more easier than it was for you. You're making it easier for other people to get nice animals than it was for you to buy those animals. It's a noble thing to do. You don't have to be out here charging people an arm and a leg. Not that I'm not saying people aren't entitled to the money they make, but you don't
Look,
got to charge 30 grand for a
look,
gecko. It's
I believe, everybody is, I respect everybody. First of all, everybody have, there's certain things, have their certain prices, the reason because of behind the prices. But, I'm different, I try to take a different route. If it hurts me, that's me, Nah, it will not hurt you, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
You
That's
do
that's
you,
big of you.
I do
That's
me, and
that's that's a man thing to do. That's a noble thing to do. That's I respect it. That's it's a beautiful thing, man, and it grows the hobby by doing something like that. You make the hobby better. It's a power move. It's a power move when you spend the money, make some really nice animals, and sell them for a little bit less to get them to some people that you know are going to do amazing things with those animals. It's,
yeah, again, sometimes give somebody the chance is gonna make, get four more people into the hobby, you
absolutely,
know?
absolutely,
Because sometimes there's a big barrier where you want to get somewhere and you already know before you start that you can go through. So
absolutely,
that makes you think, why should I start if I'm not gonna get through? You know?
absolutely. So after you got your first couple geckos, your first the 8 geckos or the first geckos that you bought, were they all leaf tails? When did you start going towards Gargs and the new cow stuff?
Yes, they were all leaked out. It was this time that I went to the show, saw David for the first time, and that time he had Deadpool on the table. So as soon as I saw that gecko, I was like, that's where I'm going. And I remember I got really close. I didn't hold him that time because, it's my first time. I didn't want to, the animal look insane. I know a lot of people stress a lot with their animals. So I just looked at it and saw him and I said, that's where I'm headed. I
What was
want
it?
one
The
of them.
color? What made
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The thing is that Deadpool it has the two colors that I like the most, which is red and black. He's not the light gecko. He's super red intense and dark.
yeah.
So I
Just
saw that and you know what? And I said, I need to get one of those. So I remember that day I bought two geckos, which one was a male, a Deadpool male he had, and I bought another one, just a regular kind of type of blushy, and I was super happy. So I started, and the thing is that when I get into something, I really get into it. So I start finding out best breeders, you know, people that work with the lines. I started talking to people, not too many, because I'm not very good, talking to the camera. And it was tough for me, all, Instagram, all this stuff. So I started getting into it. And I got three. At the end, from another breeder, I got a female, got another female, then from David, and then I started my group.
nice. Did you know right off the bat? I mean, even from when you had the leaf tails, did you know you wanted to make this a business? Did you know you were going to go the business route, or was it just
No,
simply
you
collect?
know what? It was super funny how I looked this as a business because I'm super attached to these geckos. Like to let go one of them before it was crazy. I remember the first gecko I sold. I think I thought it like 5 times. I even told my wife that I was gonna give him the money back. That I know it wasn't the right thing to do, but I was gonna give him the money back and try to talk to him, make sure he didn't get mad because it was like they were my kids,
That says a
you
lot,
know.
man. That says a lot
Yeah,
about you.
and then that's what it was. The first reason it was because, not disrespect anybody. I know everybody do their best, but I try to give them the best care that I can, you know, and give the best of the best. So it was hard for me, to let go of that. Not because they're not gonna do it, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna give their best as well. But that was the hard part for me to let go. So with the time, it got to the point that I used to live in a small house. I had so many that my wife told me, "Hey, we got to do something. There's too many. We cannot have anymore." And it became to be something nice, to be a struggle, because you know how women are. We got to follow when they say something.
Married too,
We
brother.
got to try
Trust
to get in line. So that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try to let go a couple, to make more room. And we did this deal. If I make the space, I can have I can replace the space.
me. Good
So
deal.
that gave me, the push of it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start selling a couple, even though it was hard. I remember the first batch that I saw, and I think I didn't know about prices. I didn't know about anything. I even didn't know how strong the Deadpool line was. Till I really got into, knowing more people. I started talking to David more, and he explained me a little things, and that's when I got the understanding. And I'm pretty sure I sold insane geckos to the moment super cheap. But
Learn.
but that doesn't bother me, because I give the chance to somebody to have them, which is great. But then I learned everything, and even though I learned prices difference and things, I also thought about it, because it's hard. It's hard that we go every day out there as men, make the money for the house. And when you have a hobby that you really want to put time and money into it, because a lot to do with this is put some money into it.
Sure.
And it was like a something that made me realize, that I could help other people, get where they want to get.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And again, I'm a super crazy going person, so I start, finding about lines, different geckos. That's when I, jump the big things. And I'm super stubborn, so I will save like 6 months to buy this one gecko, because it couldn't be another one. It had to be that one.
Good.
So that's when I started taking the steps. And plus that I start, producing crazy stuff. I have one gecko that is called Klaus, that
Yes.
it's super red. Like, it's a red intense that, I didn't see in many other geckos.
Yeah, I'm gonna show them in a little bit. When we're done, in a little couple more questions I want to ask you, and I'm gonna pull your Instagram page up and show
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, of
I was
course.
looking at him all day, man. You got a lot of nice animals, man. You got a lot of nice animals. That
Yes,
that sable, that Lily Sable girl you got is fire.
yeah,
So
that girl is crazy.
did she come from Korea too? Did you get her from Korea?
Yes, I got her
Yeah.
from Korea. She's great. The only thing that I noticed that from difference, that how we work here and how they work there, is that their animals are smaller. For
Really?
for us, what we think somebody is an adult, for them is an adult way before. So when I got them, I had to let them grow. Supposedly, I bought them for ready to breed, so had to let them grow for a little more, because for me, they weren't ready.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how was that whole process? I mean, when you're done, but how was that whole process dealing with Korea? How did that whole thing transpire? When and how and what made you do all that?
It's a really good experience. At the beginning, I was super scared,
Yeah.
because you send in $3,000-$4,000 to somebody that you don't even know. Even in the back where you're doing the wire, they ask you, "Are you sure this is not a scam? You
They're
sure
gonna
this is
punch you.
legit? Are you sure?" Because as soon as we press send, There's not coming back. Yeah, you say yes, yes, yes. And then you have to wait for them to send it. Fortunately, I met Fiddle, which is a really good guy. Helps out a lot in the process. He keeps in touch with you, lets you know how things are going. He even once I bought a gecko that it wasn't what I was supposed to get. He sent it back and he told me, I sent this gecko back because it's not what you pay for. So I'm gonna give you back the money, and then you decide if you're gonna buy something else. Which that gave me like a big green light,
Yeah.
to keep doing business with him, because that tells you that he really got your back in
For
the
sure.
sense, because he's basically the middleman, where he knows all the most of the breeders. So he pick up your geckos, he keeps them, and then he send them to you.
So I never bought one from there. I know a few guys that have, but I haven't yet. So I'm like super interested to hear all of your guys' experiences. And not for nothing, I hear better things about Fetal than I do about Morph Market, man. I
Look, I have bad experience with Morph Market.
see, I
Like,
can. Everybody I talk to has never heard a bad experience from Fetal
the,
yet.
the thing is that, at least experience with Morph Market, on pictures you can put everything, but when you receive the real product, it's a big difference. That's why whenever I sell a gecko, I try to, send you different pictures, send you videos, put them in the light, put them where you can really see. And even though I don't know why, it's my problem. My camera is not good enough. So a lot of the people that I sold geckos to, when they received it, they're like, "Bro, this is not what she showed me. This look way better than what you showed me." So that keeps me really happy, that I'm doing something right.
But you have morals, though. That's why I really
And
wanted
and
you on here too. One of the reasons you got
and I
morals.
tell Yeah, because bro, my dad, taught me that those are the first things of a man. Respect, have your principles right, very bound, because that's what it makes you. If you respect, let's say we're doing business, I respect you as a business owner, you respect me as a business owner. When you cross that line, you messed up that business relationship right there, because either you're not gonna trust me or I'm not gonna trust you.
Facts.
And trust is one of the most important things when you're doing something with someone else.
Absolutely. It's everything.
So that's what I always tell people, things how they are. So we have everything up front. So when something happened, you're not like, oh, well, you told me this, you told me that.
Where do you do the most of your selling? I mean, do you use Morph Market? Are you selling on Morph Market?
No, I have never sold the morph market.
So you doing shows like Daytona and
Yes,
shows and
yes,
stuff?
yes. I start going to the shows, to expose myself to a lot of people, Instagram, you know, and do most of the things in the shows and in Instagram.
Instagram, you do well on Instagram. I know a lot of people that do. They do better on Instagram. Than they do
Yeah,
Morph Market.
yeah. I think Instagram is a way of getting people to know you, to see you. I
Absolutely.
think it's not easy. You gotta put a lot of time and work into it, for people, because if you see somebody, talking about geckos, showing geckos, that doesn't give you trust. He has them, but it doesn't, give me the trust that I
Yeah.
should have.
Yep.
In the shows, it's more easy because you can talk to the people. The people see you there. Even though sometimes they don't buy anything, but they know who you are. They know you are there all the time. They know what you're backing up.
Yeah. Builds credibility for
Of
sure.
course.
That's another reason why I wanted, we started doing this podcast was I wanted, there were so many names out there, right? You go on Instagram and thousands of gecko breeders and whatnot. I wanted to start giving people the opportunity to put a face to a brand. So people could watch an episode, they could get a vibe on who a person is, and it me personally makes me feel a lot more comfortable. I work with
Of
Chihuahuas.
course.
Chihuahuas aren't cheap, man. You know that. Chihuahuas
Oh,
are
of
expensive
course
animals. I
not.
spend 2 grand every time I buy something. It's at least two
Yes.
grand,
I think
and I
I
don't
think
like
out of the
sending my
gecko
money to
business
people.
are one of the most expensive ones.
Yeah. So it's for me. I've always gravitated towards the businesses where maybe I haven't met the breeder, but I could see them in action. I could see them talk. I could see their body language. I could see how they carry themselves, and it means a lot to me, you know. And I think it does a lot of people. I think that if people could see
Yeah,
who they're doing business with, it
I,
puts them at
I
ease
believe that that has a lot to do, with who you choose at the end.
for sure.
Because when you talk to the person, there's a lot of people that may see you and they may say, nah, this is not the right guy, but when they get the chance to see you, just like you're saying, then the mind changes. And they're like, well, this guy actually, do his things right. I'm gonna give the vote to him.
For sure. Have you imported any animals from any other countries? Have you imported anything from like Europe or anything yet?
Yes, I got one from Spain.
Wow,
Yes, I got a couple of good friends from Spain that they got a crazy animals.
that's awesome.
Good people over there. But the market is it has a big difference from here than what is over there.
Really?
Yeah, it's like they're used to. First of all, they don't have. It's only no, it's not that. Only a few people have like really crazy stuff. Why? Because they're not used to wasting, like you said, $2,000, $3,000 in an animal because they make a lot less than what we make here. Their difference money wise is really big. So it's a bit different. But yes, I got some good people over there that I actually sent some geckos to Spain as well.
That's awesome. That's
That they
awesome.
have them over there.
How was the importing? Did you need any special licenses or did you have to get permits or anything? How does that
No,
work?
because you do it with the middleman. So this person is called, hopefully I'm saying it right, Colubra Reptiles, where they are from Europe and from here. So they bring them in here, and then you just pick them up. Just like over there. They take them over there, they take them to a show where they pick them up.
That's interesting. They always find it amazing, you know, when people do it because it's like you look at a map and, you know, my computer table thing is like a whole global map. And I'm like, damn, people are flying geckos from there all the way to over there. Like, that's crazy, you know? And we trip out in America about sending one from California to New York, you know? And it's like these things are coming from
And,
Asia.
and it's crazy because I worry more about that than bring them from Korea and from all of these places. I don't know because I don't know. We know.
Yeah. 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 Hey, it is what it is.
I
I mean,
worry more when I do it here than when I do it overseas.
yeah, it
I guess
seems like
because
there's more pit stops here. Like things get lost over here. When it's coming from Korea, it's just going from point A to point B. Over here, it's a million stops along the way. You know.
yes. And when you say you gotta see the other hub, how's the weather, then over there make sure the guy that you send them picks them up in time. And it happens to me that a gecko was lost.
No, you sending it out or coming to
No,
you?
they sent it to me. So the gecko was so fortunately the gecko was good. Everything was good.
Well,
But
good.
he got lost, and you're like, the gecko got lost. What I'm gonna do?
I don't even know what you could do. I mean, that's a, it's a, you
That's
know,
the
I don't
thing. I
sell
said
animals
I said the same thing. I said, what I'm gonna do? Basically, you're lost.
for sure, for sure. I heard even with like insurance. I was watching a video one time with the guy from Redline Shipping, and he was saying that like even if you buy insurance, it doesn't always cover. Like if you order a package and it doesn't come, that doesn't mean you're getting reimbursed for everything you paid. It doesn't always work like that. So it's just scary.
And
It's scary.
and that's the other thing that is tough here in the business because most of the things that we buy from Amazon and all other places, you can just press one button and it's returned. Money is reimbursed. With animals, is different.
Absolutely.
So then you gotta
Absolutely.
explain the person. You gotta talk to the person. Some people, don't understand or don't want to understand. So that's when bad things happen. It hasn't happened to me. Thanks God. Everything I sent is got in there.
Good. Do you do anything differently when you ship? How when you ship an animal out? Do you take any different type of special procedures or precautions, just in case they are to get lost? Do you put like extra heat packs or extra cooling packs?
Yes, yes. I always put one of each, just to make sure. I remember David from Tiki Geckos. He lived close here from where I live. So I ask him a lot of things. Sometimes I feel like I bug him
Good,
too much, you
good.
know. But he helps me out a lot. He tell me to, try to do this, try to do that, you know. And that's where I got him, He told me to put when to put the holes, when not to, how to close it, where to put the heat pack, where to do this. Because yeah, the first thing you got out there. But the first shipment, I think, was one of the hardest things to do. I think I made the box, if I'm not lying to you, like three or four times. Because I wanted to be good, so the guy could get it. But
Better
yeah,
safe than sorry.
yeah, 100%. I said, you know what? I'd rather waste the money in my end. I make sure everything is the right way.
It's the good thing, man. And with a teacher like David, a role model, or someone teaching you what would you call him? I guess like a role model, I guess, like
Yeah,
someone to help you get through it, like David is
100%.
priceless, bro. That's priceless, man. This
Yes.
kid innovated this game, man. Like he's
No. And the thing is that I know a lot of people know he is a super nice guy. You may see him, he may be busy, but he always make the time, to talk to people. He's a super nice guy. Manny as well. Manny is a great guy. And
very
and
humble.
it's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
Because
Especially with all the fighting in the hobby, man. Like it's as big as the gecko hobby is, when you take it and say, like, I'm big into sports bikes and import cars, right? When you take geckos and you compare them to, just say, the Honda world, right? Geckos don't even come close, bro. They don't even come close. They don't even come close. Them cats, all you got to do is have a Honda badge, and we're brothers. We're brothers. Ain't no real fighting. We could bang out on a track, maybe on the street, but that's it. We're brothers. The gecko thing, people just, everybody's competition and wants to fight. David,
but that's what I tell people. This is my impression of things, because this has happened to me a lot. Where they say, my geckos are not good enough. This other one is better. This other one is better. And I tell everybody, I understand. There's a lot of people in the hobby better than me. I'm not trying to be the best here. I'm just doing my thing.
amen.
If you like my things, I appreciate it. We can
Amen.
work a deal. You can, but if you like someone else, I'm not gonna go tell you, oh no, my geckos are better than yours, because and try to fight. That's why I always tell fight. Why we fight if we all going the same way? Instead of That's why I like a lot of the breeders here in Florida. We are super attached. Like we all friends to each other. We may have the same gecko selling, but then I don't know. Yours have, let's say, a spot in the head. We tell each other, look, this guy has the one that you're looking for. Go buy it from him. And they do the opposite as well. And why not? If we all trying to get somewhere, why are we gonna fight? I believe that's why a lot of people, are going the wrong direction, because they think if they fight strong enough, they're gonna get somewhere. And it's not like that. It's strong. The more we are, the more together we are, the stronger we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Mauricio.
And I don't understand the same thing that you do, because I also love cars. I like Japanese cars and stuff. And bro, when you take your car there, you may not know the
It's
person. You see
family.
him for the first time, but he treats you like you're his boy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And why you shouldn't? The thing is that every time you bring money into something, that's when the fight starts. But it shouldn't be like that, because if you think about it, if you're all making something, we're all happy. And it's gonna happen whether you want it or not. There's so many people, there's so many companies, that everybody's gonna pick one, and at the end of the day, everybody's gonna be happy. It's gonna make what what they can. Of course, some people are going to make more of the other one because I also believe the stronger you push, the stronger you want it, you're going to get more there.
Absolutely, for sure. And that's all. That's just life. You know what I'm saying? If you put more work in,
100%.
you're gonna get more out of it. But you don't have to try to put your foot on another business's throat just so you could do better. Do more work. Do more advertising, do more branding, get online more, post more, be more active. Don't bash somebody or belittle somebody or put someone's animal or product down to make yours look better. That's just an ugly look. I see people do that, Mauricio, and I won't even be in the fight. Like, I'll see two people arguing about something and say maybe I was gonna buy an animal from one of these two. I'll listen to what these people do. I'll person chop right off my list. I'll never buy an animal from you if I see you treat
I'll,
somebody like a piece of shit.
I'll do the same thing.
I
You
don't want
know,
nothing to do with it.
I do the same thing because, again, this is somebody who should put us together. And when there's two things that I saw, and when you are in it, and you start to see how really people are, you see how great people are, and you see how bad people are at the same time. Because this, you see the competition, you see that the things they say, and I just rather be out of it. Even when there's some people that wrote me from Instagram telling me, that this gecko, this is what they told me. I'm not gonna say who it is, but this is what they told me. This gecko's price is this. Let's say it's 1,000. So it looks better than mine. So why mine was 1,200 instead of 1,000? If this gecko was better than mine. And I told him, because again, I'm super respectful person, and I will not disrespect you no matter what you told me, till you of course cross the line. So I told him, it's great that you find a better gecko. And it's a better price. If you can go that way, go and buy it. I'll be happy for you.
No,
I'll be happy for you because you got what you wanted. And that's what it matters.
for
And
sure.
I'm gonna next time if you ask me for something, I'm gonna try to help you as well. Because I try to let go things.
Yeah.
My life has been tough. So at one point of my life, not to get into
No,
the
go
deep
ahead,
things,
brother.
I learned that you have to let go of some things. So your soul could feel better. Because sometimes you keep so much stuff into you that men, especially, I'm talking about men. Men, we try to, at least at the house, you're the strong one. You're the one who fights. You're the one that keeps everything. You're not the one when you walk into the door and your girls see me, I have a smile, and I have to keep everything outside the house. So we men think that's the way to go, but we keep so much things into us that it gets to a point that you have to let go.
Sure.
And I learned to letting go, and not keeping, negativity and bad stuff. It makes me better.
Absolutely.
So it helps
Absolutely.
me move forward easily.
Absolutely. I tell my wife all the time, man. I went through some things, right? And I told my wife, I would tell everybody really, but one of the most dangerous things I ever had to teach myself was to give up things I love. I've had to teach myself and get comfortable with giving up things that I didn't want to ever get rid of, man. And
100%,
that's
100%.
part of being a
And
man, I guess.
and right there, I understand you completely because I've been there. But when you're able to cross that bridge, then you become a different person.
Sure.
And when
Sure.
you look back, you can say,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You could pause it and on your end, you see the screen and the microphone.